thank you guys all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate kind of getting this together somewhat last minute. The reason why I like this new podcast format is I think that we can, in a somewhat timely manner, tackle topics and subjects that are really, front of mind. And I don't think that all episodes are going to be as, kind of exploding information, at a time when this goes away. But I think it's really important now. I think there's a lot of wedding planning couples, and vendors really curious about kind of what weddings are like now that we're kind of entering this phase 2, in masks and what's allowed and what's not. And so I thought it was really good to get some photographers that have, shot weddings in the last 2 weeks. I have some thoughts as well about kind of everything. So why don't we just introduce everyone? We can start with Rebecca M, and then we'll go around and everyone just kind of say who you are, and then we'll kind of get into the discussion. And thanks for being here. I know everyone is so excited today.
Well, I'm Rebecca Ann of Rebecca Ann Photography, and I've been doing this a long time, and I don't know what else to share.
And Amy, who has eluded me coming on the podcast for a long time. I've been bugging you for years.
It's not purposeful. I mean, it's a little bit purposeful, but it's not at all purposeful. So Amy Soper, it's Amelia Soper Photography, which I feel like I need to change because I introduce myself as Amelia or Amy, and then people don't. They're like, oh, right, I got it. Okay. Same deal. Like, I don't, what do you want us to say? Like, I was woken up in the middle of the night by 3 rambunctious foster kittens, and I'm on my second cup of coffee. That's it, nutshell.
Perfect. And Rebecca Jane, how's it going?
Good. Rebecca Phillips, Rebecca Jane Photography. Been doing this for 13 years. My husband and I do this full time.
And it's great. And I appreciate you guys all so much. I put out the call and I said, we need some people that have, shot weddings lately. And, like I said, we've done a couple, and you guys were so gracious to kind of come on, and we got this going real quick. So thank you so much. Just kind of, let's first off, what kind of were the weddings like? I know we've all had, I'm sure, similar stories, but different. So Rebecca Phillips, we'll start with you, and what's it been like? Just describe kind of what your recent weddings were like, and just so we kind of get a, picture of what's going on.
Well, I've done 2 in the last few weeks. The first one was, they actually moved it to a drive-in movie theater. And their intent was for guests to pull up in their cars, stay in their car, watch the ceremony, and then stay after and watch a movie, which I thought was a really cool idea, a good way to kind of socially distance and still get everybody together and still have some kind of a celebration where there was entertainment involved, the movie. So I thought that was a cool idea. It didn't quite go as planned. Most people pulled camping chairs out of their car, set up, sat down. Masks weren't really worn. People weren't really social distancing, but there was only about 15 people there. So it was a pretty small gathering and just immediate family. And this was a few weeks ago. And then I did one last weekend. It was just a backyard wedding, and same deal, about 15 or 20 guests. They tried the social distance, but that kind of fell out the window after a couple glasses of wine, and not a lot of masks going on. And they just had us come for about an hour and shoot the ceremony and leave. So those were supposed to be full 10-hour, full day weddings at venues, and last minute got sort of downgraded to small elopements with just a couple hours.
Gotcha. Amy, what about you?
So the first one I had, which was, I think maybe 3 weeks ago, was a backyard wedding. They had planned like a 200-person wedding on the other side of the mountains and had all of their vendors, everything. And then, obviously everything hit, and they just canceled the entire thing. And then about 2 weeks before the wedding, they decided they didn't want to cancel it. And instead, they found a friend who had a beautiful backyard, who they actually said that if they had seen that backyard first, they likely would have gotten married there anyway. And then they just they got in boxed lunches, and everybody had their own boxed lunch, and everybody social distanced. There were probably 20 people there. 2025. Everybody had masks. Everybody did a really good job. I was really impressed, actually. Camping chairs in your own section. And then even when people were dancing, with their people. So, and there were a lot of healthcare workers as friends, so that probably had a lot to do with that one. And then the one last weekend was just another one that was, 8 hours pared down to 2 at a church. And again, all masks. Everybody did a really good job. They also had a planner, which I think who really, follows the rules. So it was nice to have somebody who was like masks on. Same with the church. The church was really, I don't want to say strict, but they were very, this is how it's going to be. And everybody wore their masks and it was good. So I've been, I think, very fortunate that they've all been safe.
Yeah, and that was with Brianne, who's a friend of the podcast, was on our wedding planner roundtable. So good connection. And Rebecca, and what about I know we were talking, you guys had a big wedding I saw. That was because I saw your Instagram, and that's why I was like, okay, well, we got to have you come on and, talk about it.
A little different than your guys' ones. So we were in a county that's in phase 3. So that probably played a big difference. Going into it, it was going to be 50 guests, and then it was going to be 50 guests spread in groups throughout the venue. And then it moved to phase 3, so they were able to have 200 guests at their reception. The ceremony was only 50 guests, Catholic ceremony, and the church was spot on. They were taking temperatures, hand sanitizer, handing out masks as you walked in, collecting information, designated seating, and everything. People were cleaning the bathrooms one person at a time. They'd go sanitize after you went in. Everyone was masked except for, as the wedding party and what such walked in, and then they put masks on except for the bride and groom. The only thing I was a little surprised by was doing communion still. That I was a little surprised they did that, but they only did the bread. So, and then reception, not a single mask except for the vendors. And everything was outside. But still full tables. They did family style meal, so to try and limit that. But even so, that still seems me like panicking. Still seemed like a lot. Us vendors had our own meals plated, which was good in that sense. And had a full dance floor. So we didn't enter the dance floor. We stayed on the exteriors of everything, and was really impressed with the vendor teams and their being masked up and careful and stuff. But yeah, definitely felt like a normal wedding at the reception.
Yeah, and that was kind of similar experience we had. We had one that was it was a family member. It was like a bride's. Her dad was getting remarried, so we had known the family a long time, and yeah, that was a really small. I think it was 10 people with vendors, and I didn't feel as nervous about the masks and stuff. I mean, we were masked, but I figured like, well, this is all really family, right? Like it's him, it's his daughter, her husband, their child, whatever. But then the next day we had a wedding that we had gotten hired last minute, within the last month to do a live stream and then, a video of the ceremony and reception. And yeah, there wasn't, and this was 2 weeks ago, not a mask at all, except for the staff. And that was interesting. And, Rebecca, and you talked about that too, that it really did. When we were there, it was like, the bartenders had masks and the servers had masks and we had, me and my assistant had masks, and then none of the guests did at all. And there was no social distancing at all. And that was where it was a little more, I don't know, just challenging for me, because it really did kind of set up an odd, just dynamic, that's just kind of an odd, feeling where, I do think that we struggle sometimes, with vendors, like getting vendor meals or, dealing with like, we've been with the couple all day and people getting dressed in front of us and all these different things. And now, it really did kind of feel like an odd shift. And I didn't know how comfortable I felt about that. So I didn't know if anyone else, did that seem weird for you too, Rebecca, with the, having you guys all having masks and then not, what was that kind of dynamic like?
Yeah, it felt very, don't mind my daughter over here.
That's okay.
She found nice snacks for her over here. It felt very strange that we were masked and everyone else wasn't. Being able to communicate with everyone was really challenging. I hadn't quite taken into account the lack of, or how much lip reading you do. So at the church talking to people, or it was like, kind of had to like pull the mask out a little almost so people could hear you better. But yeah, definitely a little strange. People were not noticing it really though. They were fine with it and didn't ignore, or didn't like, I don't know what the phrasing is. didn't distract them or make them uncomfortable. So it was just like, oh, this is what has to be done.
Okay. And Amy, for you, I know that, so you guys all had masks at yours, and I saw the photos that you had posted with Brianne too.
Yeah. Everybody, I felt pretty safe at both weddings. Even during the ceremony, the couple wasn't masked, and whoever got up to do readings, it was actually a pretty long ceremony for, I guess it was 4 people on one side, 4 people, so 8, 9, 10 with the couple, and then the father, and then us. But when people got up to read, they took their masks off, and during the ceremony, the officiant and the couple both had their masks off, but all of their 8 guests all had their masks on, and we had our masks on. And like you were saying, like, it is tough. You kind of don't realize how much you look at people's mouths, or how much you use it, like when you're trying to just, hey, or like little subtle things. So I feel like it's just a little bit of adjustments that have to be made that, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah, it's funny. My Matthew, if anyone knows, my little assistant Matthew was saying, he goes, I like wearing my mask and I feel safe, but he goes, people don't see me smiling now if I'm smiling at them. And I was like, oh,
Matthew, smile with your eyes, man. It's all about the smizing.
I was trying so hard to smile with my eyes all day.
Right.
That's funny. Rebecca Phillips. So, when you said the wedding, the couple had the best intentions, drive through, because I think when I heard, because you posted it, so I read about that and I was like, wow, that's a great idea. And then you said it kind of devolved out. Did you guys feel uncomfortable there? What was that like? Or was that just guests kind of taking their own accord, or what was that, that process like, that, de-evolution into that?
So I was the only professional vendor there. It was a drive-in movie theater. I don't know that they had ever even done a wedding before. And I didn't really see anybody from the drive-in there. So from a vendor standpoint, it was just my husband and I, and we were wearing masks and we were social distancing, and we were being careful. And we did feel a little uncomfortable once guests started to arrive and sort of congregate together, and we kind of realized, okay, I don't think anybody really is being careful here. So we did feel uncomfortable, but being that it was such a small group and it was such a wide open space and we were able to stay back, we were okay with it. Had it have been an indoor venue with more people, I probably would have, well, I don't know what I would have done, honestly. I mean, it's an awkward situation because from a photographer standpoint, we don't want to necessarily police people and say, hey, you guys are supposed to be wearing masks. I don't know that that's necessarily our place when it comes to certain situations. But then at the same time, we're sort of documenting our own incriminating evidence of, like, we're documenting all of this happening and it's not supposed to be happening. So it's just kind of a tough spot to be in, especially when it comes to taking like group formal photos, wedding party photos, family photos, and we're putting groups together. And technically under the guidelines right now, we're not supposed to be putting groups of more than 5, and they have to be in the same household. So like handling that situation with a bride who's getting married and she wants a photo with her mom and her dad and her brother, and nobody lives in the same household, how do you handle that when you don't want to tell them no, but then at the same time you don't want to create an unsafe situation and you don't want to incriminate yourself for breaking the rules,
No,
so
yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that's such there was one of the wedding planners posted yesterday on one of the Facebook groups, asking about this and enforcement and everything. And I had, I tried to link, some of the episodes because we just did one with venues and stuff. And somebody was like, well, why don't you just answer the question? Why are you trying to like plug your podcast? And I was like, well, because it's not an easy answer, right? It's not. And, I think it's really easy for, the lawmakers or whoever is coming up with these guidelines to be like, well, you need to, like, we're supposed to refuse service now, right? I mean, I guess like today or whatever. Well, how do you tell a couple that's getting married, like, well, no, like I'm going to, I don't know if anybody could do that, right? Does anyone else have thoughts about that?
I think that with like, I don't know that we can, I don't think that we have to, the way that I understood it is that we don't necessarily have to refuse service. I mean, I feel like
we're under the more of the restaurant.
Yeah, because people, I mean, yeah, if you're in a restaurant and you have to eat, you have to take your mask off. So, yeah, I feel like it's keep your mask on, when you're inside and you can't social distance, but then when you're outside and you're keeping your distance with two people, say for an engagement or something, I don't, that's obviously something that can be done. But I think also, and I know that, Reed, and I don't know, maybe the rest of you too, listen to the podcast, was it last week with
the big round table? Yeah. Or the town hall. Yeah.
Which was really good, which basically just says at weddings, if there's no planner there and it's not a venue, then it's on the couple. It's their responsibility. It's not our responsibility. So even if we are capturing it, that's not on us. It's on them. We aren't there to police them. I feel bad for planners because that falls on them and the venue. Nobody wants to be that person. I think as a photographer, especially, we connect with our clients. We want to have fun with them. We want to be, we want to be amiable. And so fortunately, it doesn't fall on us. I mean, it falls on on us to stay safe in general. But I think from a legal standpoint, I don't think that it's on us.
So I'm just being extra careful there because I don't want to take any chances, and it sucks, but it's kind of what we have to do.
Yeah, we had the couple sign a waiver, basically just letting them know, hey, here's what the rules say. Here's what we're recommending you do, but you're signing away that you are of your own free will and your family and wedding party of their own free will are grouping together in these photos. We will take them. We're not going to ask anyone to remove a mask, but basically if they're there for those family photos and that wedding party photo scene, then they're like releasing their coming after us over it.
Because and the one I remember, because we were kind of the big one that we had that was kind of whatever, because I'm like packing up some stuff and Matt, we always, hey, go roll on, they're doing like family photos. And it was just like any other wedding, oh, let's get Bill in here. And oh, Sam, get over here. Let's get in one, just like, and you're like, I don't know if this is, it's like you said, I guess sign the waiver. Has anyone else thought about that, about having waivers signed, or Amy shaking her head?
Yeah.
Or nodding her head?
Yeah, I wasn't that one wedding came on really quick and they were really great. And then I knew I had a planner for the other one. I do have one next month that I am concerned about that I know doesn't want to wear a mask. They have a planner too, which is helpful. But I know that they are not people who want to wear a mask, and that concerns me. So yeah, definitely a wedding that I would have them sign a waiver for.
Because I guess there's a twofold, it's those formal photos, and then you were talking Rebecca and too about the dancing and everything, and you guys you're documenting that from a distance and really trying to be respectful of that. How did that go?
Yeah, we were mostly just like on a stage above the dance floor. We didn't go down and get into it, and it's so hard, man, when you're so used to getting in there and shooting with a wide lens right in people's face. You're like, I have a long lens and this sucks. I'm not getting the photos I normally get. But just kind of explaining that to the bride from the get-go, you're not going to get the same photos that you normally get at a wedding due to COVID, because we are not going to be gathering in the groups. We're going to be avoiding the center of the reception floor as well, like amongst the tables. Everything's going to be a long lens. We're not going to be doing the interaction we normally do. I mean, like, you can't even smile at someone to get them to smile back with a mask on. So it's much, much different. But yeah, we would not enter the dance floor. Sucked, but we didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think when they were starting to do a lot of the guidelines, I don't even know, how long ago now, months ago, we're talking, and all the photographers, well, I guess I'll just have to shoot everything on the long lens. But like you said, that totally changes that, that dynamic, right? Has anyone else noticed that or have thoughts about that and just changing that, just kind of the photos that you're going to be able to get from having to be at such a distance?
I was fortunate. I had no dancing at the last one. And the first one, they were outside on a basketball court and everybody was masked while dancing and was keeping 6 feet. So I'm really excited to blog that one. But people were still having a good time, and I wasn't worried because of that. So yeah, ask me next month after that next wedding, because that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it was. I had the email from from the second marriage, and she, they're a little older, and she had asked me if she didn't want to see any masks and was wondering if I could do anything from a video standpoint, like photoshopping. And I was like, well, I can tell you there's not one photographer in the world that's probably going to Photoshop out masks. And, and then there's definitely, like, I obviously, literally can't do it, but, has anyone else had any requests like that about, not wanting to highlight that or not wanting to see that? Because that did strike me as, I'm like, well, if your guests are choosing to wear them, it's, I can't ask them to take them off,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a conversation about still taking candids, even if people were masked before getting there, but they weren't, so it wasn't an issue.
I've only had my clients say that, like, downgrade their packages and say, well, I don't really want a bunch of photos with all my guests wearing masks, so I don't need you to stay for the reception. So
yeah, it's the same thing about getting ready photos. Like, I don't need pictures of someone in a hazmat suit getting me ready. It's not the same. So skip that part.
That's really interesting. Can you elaborate on that? I mean, I didn't even, because we just got our first, I would say, like, our first real big wedding. They just sent in their questionnaire last night, and I was talking to one of my guys who was going to come second shoot, just kind of figuring out stuff. And he had asked me that about getting ready. And I, by the time I got the thing and talked to him, like, I hadn't even thought about it last night, right? Like, I'm just sending it along. But I'm like, that is a very valid point, right? If we're at an Airbnb and there's 10 people there or whatever, have you guys, so you're saying that people have said they don't want that, or how is that? I mean, obviously just, prepping for, for stuff that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that, well, so this one was the church one, and they, the other one, they did kind of they got ready in different rooms. They each had one person with them. And it was a friend of theirs that was doing hair and makeup, and they were masked. But I think that when you have professionals come in, like, I know, I share space with Ann Timms and Kat St. John, and they do, they've got full PPE. They have shields and they have masks. And the bride that decided she didn't want photos of her, in the chair, basically, because there's nobody there getting ready with her, because she didn't have a wedding party because of all of this. And, like, she just didn't need somebody in a face shield, pictures of that putting lipstick on her. So, and I mean, that's totally valid, but I think that that's obviously not going to be the same for everybody. That second wedding, or the first wedding I had, we have a couple getting ready photos, and it's just because it was a friend of theirs, and they were just, masked. She wasn't professional or anything. So I don't know. I mean, what's everyone else's thought?
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Rebecca Ann?
Yeah, our bride shifted to just getting her dress on at the church. So we didn't go to getting ready anymore. Her and the girls just put their dresses on in a library kind of room at the church.
Yeah. And then Rebecca Phillips, obviously, you guys said that there was no getting ready, right?
No getting ready. No, all of my June and July. Well, I had 2 elopements in June, and I've got 2 in July, and they've all downgraded to just, essentially, they're just going to have us arrive when they're already ready to go, take a few formal photos, shoot the ceremony, and leave. So that's about it.
Yeah. Are you guys getting a lot of downsizing of keeping dates? But Amy's nodding.
Yeah, well, most of mine have moved. I think that I've got this one that just booked for August, the one I'm concerned about. And then I still have 2 for October that haven't switched yet, but I think they're going to. And then one in September that has decided to keep that day because they live out of state. They actually both live in different states, and he's in the military, and they've already moved their wedding twice. So they're like, we're just going to get married in California really quick and then have a tiny ceremony or reception because we're already planning on being there in September. So it really just kind of came down to the ability to, we're already going to be there. They have, their schedules and calendars are so specific because of, what he does and everything, that they just couldn't move it. So, but most of them have moved.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, I really did like that 2 weeks ago, that, Friday, Saturday going in. And I kind of thought like, well, I guess we're kind of starting the season now. Right. And I really did kind of think, and we had, cause, and I'm trying to do the podcast and figure out what's relevant. And I'm like, okay, are we, is this, what's going on? Are we still talking about all this stuff? And then, we've had, I think 4 or 5 more postponements, just like since, like whatever last weekend. And now we've had, we've rescheduled a wedding now that from May to October and now to next May, which is their same date, so we took a really long way to get to doing that. But we are, a lot of our like Aprils and things that have moved now to September, we're rescheduling or downsizing. And so, how's everyone else holding up with that, Rebecca Ann?
About half of our weddings have moved to next year. They just moved their date to basically their same date or that same weekend next year. The ones that have stayed are still trying to have their full wedding. There's only one that moved from May to August, and they were only a 50-person wedding anyways. And then I have one couple that actually are like upgrading their package because they're still keeping their coverage for this year. They're having 50-person wedding reception in their backyard, and they're still having a full-blown wedding next year. So they're actually adding on like a second wedding. But most people, they want to have the whole thing. So they're either going to have all or they're moving it. They don't want to downgrade or change what they originally wanted. So that's good in that sense. And
Rebecca Phillips, I know you had to, blown out, we talked about this off, before everything too, being blown out. How are you guys, you still have weddings? Are people still concerned? How's it going now?
We've had a total of 42 weddings that have postponed to next year. So that's like the majority. That's about half of our weddings for the entire year that have moved. We've had a few that have just canceled altogether and just, said, never mind, we're not going to deal with all this, or they may have chosen to elope or something. And then we've had, I think 7 or 8 who have downsized to just small, less than 30 people elopements. So we're doing okay. It's been really frustrating watching all of our inventory for next year get wiped out, because that's essentially going to be a 50% decrease in income for next year as well. So we're kind of in this place where we're trying to figure out how we're going to make up for that and what we're going to do going into next year. With weddings, it's one of those things where we can't just create more inventory for ourselves, and we can't just make more weekends. There's only so many weekends in the year. So, and most people we've found don't want to do weekday weddings. We've had a lot of clients who have come to us and said, hey, what's your availability like for next year? And we've sent them our calendar and they're like, oh, wow, you don't have a lot of Saturdays left. And I'm like, well, you don't have to get married on a Saturday. You can get married on a Thursday. You can get married. I mean, I've had Monday weddings. I've had weddings all different weekdays. And we find that a lot of people just don't, they don't, for whatever reason, they have to be a Saturday. So that's been really frustrating to kind of deal with the scheduling aspect of things.
I've been blessed in that I have an associate team already like built and on board. So actually quite a few of my weddings have moved to associates because people have to have a Saturday. And I don't have the availability to book next year and reschedules all on Saturdays. So that's been one way to kind of keep the inventory a little bit, is to have the associate team, which has been nice. But that has been a downgrade because the associates are cheaper, but definitely navigating.
Yeah, how is that? Is that a compromise they're willing to take to keep that Saturday, or how is that? Is that just their mentality behind that the Saturday is that important?
Yep. Yeah. So we have 5 associates right now, which has been great for moving. And even, I have some associates that they don't want to take any states because they want to hold them out for their own brides, and that's totally fine. So we've shifted between associates, and brides are just like, hey, you're available. We can still keep the money. We can still keep the style. And, oh, hey, we get to save a few bucks because they're having to navigate all this too. So it's been a good compromise for them in that sense of, we can save some money, still get our peak date, and still have that same style. So that's been good.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how important the Saturdays are. I know that there's a couple of planners that I know are doing like the weekday, like the micro weddings, and I know Rebecca Grant's doing like the elevated elopements and all that. And I think we as vendors, it is like so easy to be like, we'll just get married on the, who cares? Just sit there, do a Tuesday. But it is like, do you guys find that too, that it really is like a non-starter? And when people are trying to like reschedule, like maybe if they're sending you potential dates, like the ones that I'll get, it'll be like, 4 Saturdays and then like 1 Friday or something. And you're like, maybe try that. Anyone else? Amy?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. A lot of mine that have moved to the same date, which means it's now either a Friday or a Sunday. So I had one move from, I think that might be your wedding too, from August to February.
Yeah, great move. Great move. That was awesome.
Like a Sunday in February or something, I think.
Fantastic.
That sounds great.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that a lot of people don't want to. It's hard for people to show up to a wedding on a Tuesday. Like it's, they have to work, and it's hard to ask people to fly out, and lose 3 days of work instead of a half day on a Friday or whatever. So I get that. I'm working with JM doing micro weddings there, but yeah, I think that people they want what they want. They want what they had. It's not fair that this all came down and it turned everything upside down. And yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair and none of us like it. So it's hard to ask people to pick a weekend or a weekday when that's not what they planned. That's not the dream. So,
my wife's friend got married on the Thursday at Roach Harbor, and they still complain about it. And it's been like 9 years ago. Like we still talk about the time that they had to take like a 5-day weekend to go up to Roach Harbor for a Thursday wedding. So it's that's a real struggle. Did you guys, back to shooting the weddings that you guys had, other challenges that maybe you didn't anticipate? I know, like the mask thing and all that, but anything else like in terms of that, in terms of like day of logistics? Like I know, and I had kind of thought about it, but like, we like mic a lot of people, right? So we're like getting in with people, and like even the father at we did a Catholic wedding, and I'm like trying to, put the mic on him, and, he was trying to do communion and had the mask and stuff. Any other challenges that you guys didn't anticipate going into the ones that you've had so far?
Oh yeah. Like I tend to, adjust the train and adjust the veil and things like that. And now with this no touch posing, we can't do that. And, I've been known to go up to groomsmen and pin their boutonnieres on them, or, fix the boutonnieres or fix the ties, or, just make adjustments like that. And we can't do that right now. So, that's been a little, bit of a challenge.
Amy, anything?
Yeah, just the same. It's, adjusting a necklace or something. It's so much easier to just go do it sometimes than be like, no, a little bit more. It's especially when you're now doing it with a mask on. So it's sort of a 2-barrier system now, which is the goal, right? 2-barrier system. But yeah, it definitely makes things a little more difficult. It's also been a little bit, the thing that has helped me a bit is it helps me remember who people are, though. Like I can remember what your mask looked like, probably more than your face. So where's guy in blue mask? I need guy in blue mask. What was that guy's name? David. Bring me David. Like that, I feel like has actually been a little bit helpful. But yeah, the pinning of the boutonnieres and the adjusting of things I feel like that is the most, I haven't had boutonnieres yet because I didn't have a wedding party. I haven't had a wedding party, but yeah, I think that being able to, it's that connection, right? Like it's being close to people and just being like, let me do that for you. Just kidding. Do it yourself.
Yeah. Being able to I love being helpful. Mm-hmm. I can't totally be helpful anymore. I found just wearing a mask really hard to wear a mask. I had a cute one on for the ceremony and I was like, I feel lightheaded. So I switched to a paper one. And then I was like, I don't feel protected anymore, but at least I can breathe and I'm not like sweating myself silly with a mask on. I mean, that's an obvious one, but it's not fun at all.
I didn't have a problem breathing, but I felt like I get dehydrated. That was the thing. Like, I feel like I need double the water for some reason. Like, it's just like right through the side.
I almost was drinking my water through my mask.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. That's the thing I think that is, that I didn't expect, because I've worn it like to the grocery store or to the post office, but I haven't worn it for 5 hours straight. And then you start doing that. And I like my mask. I got a nice, comfortable, sparkly pink one for weddings. And it's great, except for whatever reason, I feel like just I need all the water.
I was going to ask about posing and things like that. You know, I will say it is my dream now that filming video that the photographer doesn't have to walk all the way up to the couple in between every shot now, right? So it will make, you know, my life easier. But how has that gone for you know, either couples photos or, you know, anything, I guess, besides candids, right? Because there's posing involved with, you know, every sort of everything else basically, except for just like candids. So how has that gone for you guys so far? And who wants to start?
I will. I found an unexpected pro to it. So at the larger wedding that I had, they who all wore masks. While they did group photos, they did. Whoever wanted to took off a mask. Whoever didn't want to didn't have to, per the couple. And we did some, while it's not super, you know, as safe as it could be, like back-to-back photos with their friends instead, so they weren't like in each other's faces. And then with friend groups, they had like the couple and then like mom and dad over here and then mom and dad over here. And then it made it really easy to get like crop out separate portraits of families, which was kind of fun. It kind of doubles the amount of, you know, if I forget to grab that photo of, you know, mom and dad together or whatever, it's right there. So, and they're not touching anybody. So just crop them right out. So I found that was actually kind of helpful.
Anyone else? Rebecca Ann?
Yeah, I mean, it was helped that the couple had an engagement session, so they knew poses, so that really helped. But yeah, I definitely like touching people and moving them and adjusting them. It just makes things so much faster. So to have to pause and be like, okay, no words. What am I asking you to do right now? So I mean, it's probably a good practice to be able to verbally just pose people, but wedding party and family photos for the most part were pretty much the same. That's not super hard because everyone just sees what the first pose is and falls into place afterwards. But yeah, the bride and groom is challenging to not be all up in there.
That having the engagement session definitely for sure helped for me too, because it was like, all right, remember this. All right, here we go. And it was just
snuggle her like you did at the engagement session.
Done. Yeah. So that was definitely a plus.
Rebecca Ann, I don't want to police you here, but how did you see? Because I saw you got Swiftwater. And then you guys did Sunset over right with the overlook. Did you guys all hop in the same car?
Yeah.
It's
they
tough.
were in the back.
It's tough. I know. Well, I'm not trying to,
we had masks on and they were in the back. Yeah.
Head out the window. I mean,
at that point, we'd been with them so much, and you just kind of are like, well, I'm going to be exposed to the bride and groom. That's just what it is. At least in my mind, going into it, I'm like, I'm going to be exposed to the bride and groom at least. I mean, it sucks that they've just hugged 200 people, but...
Rebecca Phillips, any other with posing or talking to guests and everything and trying to do that?
I just kept catching myself walking up to in my case, I had two brides. So I was walking up to the brides and I was like, I had to stop myself. Wait, hold on. I can't adjust the veil and I can't adjust the train. And so like I had to, instruct the other bride on like how to properly like fluff the train. And No, not like that. Like, I need you to lay it out this way. And so just being a lot more verbal in that was, a learning curve. And we're brainstorming some creative ways. We haven't had a wedding party yet, and we haven't had like any big family groupings yet. It's been mostly just parents. So we've been brainstorming some ideas of how we can sort of, get creative with groupings and maybe individual portraits of each wedding party member and then collaging them together, things like that. So.
Yeah, I love like the bridal, you do like the bridal parties and they're all, on like the different rocks or whatever. Like I kind of like all that crap. So I'm kind of, but it's tough, right? It's having to experiment. Have you guys all been thinking about kind of brainstorming other ideas like that? Amy,
I thought about stitching it together too, finding a plain wall that you can then just, you stand here on this X and I'm going to stand right here. And then we're just going to swap y'all out and we'll just put y'all in. But it is frustrating being at a wedding. And it's like any other wedding where people are like, if I hear the word, you can just Photoshop those words anymore, like I might punch somebody in the face. It's the worst. And people think they're so funny. But it's hard. And that comes down to us, right? Like, I guess I could do, but like, that's not what this is about, And I think it's helpful to have people who are embracing this, instead of people that are trying to have the exact normal wedding. We aren't in normal times. You cannot have a normal wedding right now. Either you embrace that or maybe put it off until we can. Because it's frustrating. But I like the idea of, I was thinking of Andy's photo that he had, Andy Shepard's photo of all the people on rocks. I think it was in Arizona, which was really cool. And I think that's just space them all out and make it look cool and hope you have a space that you can do that in, because not all venues have a space you can do that in.
Yeah, my big thing is just kind of where's the line of how much I have to police versus allowing them to do what they're going to do. The bridal party walks in and they've been together all day. That couple's married, that one's dating. So they've all been exposed to each other because they're married and then he's been with all the guys. And so, just going, do I need to police this when they've already been together?
Well, what's the point?
What's the point anymore? And the family's all hanging out anyways, and they just fall together in a clump for photo. So you go, like, where's my liability in this? What am I expected to do? When it's already been like this, they've already been exposed to each other.
Yeah, I just we had the groom when they brought out, like, because they had drank quite heavily, and I want to do a bars service roundtable kind of talking about that stuff too, because I do think that is paramount to kind of guiding guest behavior throughout the night is liquor consumption and all that. But when they're like sharing champagne bottles and the one guy's lighting the cigar for the other guy, and I'm just like, okay, there, there's a line here, but I definitely think that's like way on the other side, that I think that we can like stand next to each other, take a photo, but I don't know if both of our salivas need to be on the same like cigar that we're passing around, like that's where I was just like
asking for it.
I just, at that point, I am, it's tough, and I know we're saying, people want to have what they want to have. And it's like, I do think at that point there needs to be like a little bit more, control, if that makes sense. Before we go, because this has been great and I really appreciate everybody. If I'm someone and I'm still planning the wedding this year, right, and we're still going ahead. I just had another email come in about a reschedule, which is fantastic. What would be your advice to a couple that's planning the wedding right now? Something to think about, to plan about from a photographer's perspective that would be worthwhile for them. Hey, Kitty, that's awesome. That was a good drive-by. And we'll start with Rebecca Ann to go around, but what would be your advice to someone still planning the wedding to help make their day still successful?
Still do all the things. You're still getting married. Still do it. Still have your first dance. Still cut a cake. it's still your wedding. Still embrace that. And I mean, obviously, you want to do it as safely as you possibly can, but don't say no. We don't want getting ready photos because it's going to look drastically different. Because you're still going to want them. And yes, COVID sucks, but also we're going to look back on this and we're going to want to see the photos from this. We're going to want to see how weddings happened, and it's documenting history, really. And yes, it really, really sucks that your wedding's going to be part of documenting a pandemic in history, but don't just say, I don't want it just because you're kind of down over it all happening. I say still embrace it, still do what you can, and have a blast getting married.
Amy, what about you?
Sorry, my cat is rubbing on.
Yeah, it's like we're in like an earthquake.
Like
what is happening?
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's perfect.
So this is like my toddler. Yeah, I am all in on embracing it. Make it your day, but embrace the fact that this is where we're at right now. We joked at the wedding that I had that the brides had masks that were made out of their extra pieces of their wedding dress. And I said, your kids are going to wear this is going to be your antique hand-me-down lace mask, that you're pulling out of the chest in the attic. Grandma, remember when grandma had these masks? And it's going to be passed down even when you don't have to wear masks, because it was this thing, that their grandma and their great grandmas had. It's okay that it's not, it's unprecedented, and either embrace that wholeheartedly. And, like you said, have your family there, have your loved ones, Skype with them if you need to, live stream with them if you need to. They're all there. The love is all there. It's just going to be captured a bit differently. And if you're not okay with that, there is nothing wrong with packing it up and moving it to next year. Preferably maybe a Sunday, or a Tuesday, or January. But yeah, I mean, either just be aware of what's going on and be aware of the safety of yourself and the safety of your guests and your vendors.
Yeah, vendors, please. Yeah. Rebecca Phillips, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, safety, I think the health and the safety of your friends and family, your loved ones is very important. And I think my advice to couples right now who are planning their wedding and planning to still go forward is to take that seriously, and really, think about ways to make sure that you're keeping your loved ones and your vendors safe. And at the end of the day, you're still getting married. You're still having a beautiful wedding. You are getting married during a pandemic. So yes, things are going to look a little different. And yes, there are some things that are a little frustrating, but, if you want to still go forward with your wedding, I say, do it, enjoy it. If you decide to downsize a little bit, maybe take that extra money and use it somewhere else, really cool. Have a big fancy honeymoon or have a big party next year or buy a bigger house or, just embrace it and sort of, look for the positives in it. Or, there's nothing wrong with postponing to next year. We've been sort of encouraging our couples who are questioning whether or not they want to get married and deal with all these. We've been encouraging them, if you're feeling unsure about this, let's look at next year.
Yeah, it's tough. I know we just had one of Dorothy's good friends was planned to get married in October, and they decided to postpone like months ago now. And I even remember at the time that I was, just kind of talking with Dorothy, and I was like, God, because I was going to film it, and I was like, God, a lot of my couples are moving to, October, and what's going on, and, are they jumping the gun, whatever. And now, I mean, I don't know. Now the October ones are moving and they seem smart. And so I don't know. Yeah, I think if you're on the fence or worried, or if you have, elder guests or, like their parents are older, like my mom and stuff, and it's, you got to be careful about that. So you got to think about everybody and people flying across the country and everything else. So stuff.
And do it now before all the dates get booked up.
I know. I feel it's going to be really rough next year getting dates. So
I just had someone email me last night and say, hey, we're thinking about moving. What do you have left for next year? Not a lot. Not a lot. So do it now.
July, Saturday?
Yeah.
It's been gone a long time.
I'm still open, so you can just send them all this way.
Thank you guys so much. Any other thoughts before we go? Before I cut this off?
We covered a lot of it.
You guys were great. Let's just do say goodbye or say anything you want. We'll put websites, but plug away, Rebecca Ann, and we'll go around.
Rebecca Ann Photography, Seattle wedding photographer, specializing in capturing your most authentic moments in the most natural way.
Yes, natural. Yes, and Amy, go for it.
Yeah. What do you say right now, right? I mean, I can tell you that that I do give discounts for people who have their pets in their weddings, so or your engagement. So yeah, Soper Photography, and Woodinville also. You also get a discount for Woodinville. So
perfect. And Rebecca Phillips.
Rebecca Jane Photography, sometimes mistaken for Rebecca Ann. I get emails sometimes for you.
No.
I am in the South Sound. I focus a lot on Tacoma and South Sound weddings. And stay safe and stay healthy.
And say hi to Alex too, because he is.
I will.
I feel like I'm only here because Rebecca Ellison wasn't available.
Don't tell anyone. Thank you guys so much again. I like the idea of tackling topics as they come along in this new podcast forum. If you are someone listening and you do have a topic for a specific vendor type, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/survey. And it's all organized by vendor type. And then that'll kind of give us an idea of where if we want to start tackling some other subjects. Hopefully it won't be all COVID talk forever, but at least right now it is. I checked with Dorothy and she said it's okay. It's still top of mind. So we're still okay to talk about it. So thank you guys again. And I hope everybody stays safe. And thanks. Have a good one.
Bye.